Gentlemen, it is 8:30 and we're going to go ahead and get started here. This is the, September 23rd meeting of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation Board. And, let's take that as our call to order. With that, I'd like to ask Scott Tankersley to open us with prayer.
All right, everyone, bow your heads with me. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful morning. We're able to gather together and meet and confer on the business of the city of San Angelo. I pray that you will be with us to make wise decisions and be good stewards of the taxpayer money of San Angelo. Father, I also ask that you would be with our men and women who are in harm's way and overseas and away from their families. Please bring them home to their families as safe as soon as possible. Lord, I also ask that if it be thy will, please bring our country some rain as it is desperately needed. All these things we ask in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And with that, I'm going to step down to the other microphone. Bear with me a moment. Okay. I even have a side table here today. Today we're going to go ahead and recognize and thank Mr. Tony Villarreal. Would you come on up here, Tony? Tony has served on the Development Corporation Board for, if my math is right, about 4.5 years. Wow. And recently stepped down to do other things here in the community. We wish him well. We wish him Godspeed and blessings and prosperity. But we have here a plaque. I've been told I have to keep my sticky fingers off the glass, so I'm handling it carefully. The City of San Angelo Development Corporation hereby recognizes and applauds. That's a cue, folks. Okay, thank you. Tony Villarreal for his invaluable service as a member of the Board of Directors of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation from February 11th, 2011 to August 26th, 2015. In sincere appreciation for the dedication to the economic development and well-being of the City of San Angelo and the community at large. And then it was witnessed by myself. It's got a nice, pretty gold seal on it. And this, and I guess I'll have to fund it, but I'll buy you a cup of coffee. How's that? God bless you, Tony. Thank you, Tony.
What about his pension?
Thank you. It's
Been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Any final words, Tom?
Speech.
Well, it has been truly an honor to serve and work with this group that we have here. It's an awesome opportunity for San Angelo at this time, and I have full faith that with God's help and all the decisions that this board will continue to make and the team that supports it, we've got great things coming to San Angelo. So thank you for allowing me to serve. It has been a pleasure, and it has been something that I will always cherish, working with all this group. Thank you again, and God bless.
Thank you again, Tony. And with that, we welcome Edward Carrasco, who is filling the seat vacated by Tony.
Thank you.
I trust you'll do well.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda, we're already down to number 4, is public comment. Issues or items that are not on the agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium. Begin by stating your name and limit remarks to less than 5 minutes. Board members may request that a discussed item may be placed on a future agenda. The board takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Is there any public comment at this time? Being none, we will press on. We now have the consent agenda. We have 3 items there. Consideration of approving the August 26, 2015 minutes of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. Next item being consideration of approving the necessary corporate disbursements, and the third being consideration of approving the August 2015 financial statements.
Motion to
Approval of
approve.
Consent agenda.
Okay, so
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Scott and Tommy. And then, do we have any public comment on this? None? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. We now move to the regular agenda. First item being consideration and possible action to appoint first vice president of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. And we welcome Mr. Roland Pena, our director.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
So this is just procedure. Since we have a vacancy at the officer level, first vice president was held by Tony, and he, with that vacancy and his resignation, what you have done in the past is you have elevated those positions. Second vice president usually moves up to first, and first to president. That's what has happened in the past. I have attached the duties of the officers as your background for your reference. I do not know if you want to continue that practice, but staff recommends that you handle each officer position separately if you choose to do that. And it will require a majority vote.
Okay. Do I hear any nominations for the first vice president? I believe it would be the reason for the board to
nominate-
handle them separately.
It would be Tommy. Tommy was second vice president, correct?
That's correct.
I nominate Tommy Hebert as first vice president.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that Tommy Hebert move from the second vice president to the first. Do we have any discussion? Any public comment? We have the motion and the second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It seems like Mr. Hebert abstained from voting on that, which from the rules actually counts as a yay vote. Okay.
Congratulations, Tommy.
We now have a vacancy in the second vice president position, so I would entertain any nominations therein.
Anybody want to stick up their hand?
I nominate Edward.
Ooh, I'll second that.
We're going to fast track him right to the president.
It looks that way.
I warned him of this.
Okay. Well, we seem to have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the board or the public? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome aboard in a big way, Edward.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we will now move on to item C in the regular agenda. Presentation and update regarding the BREP, which is the Business Retention and Expansion Program, helping local business marketing campaign. And we have Stephen McLaughlin Advertising. Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. President, let me just kind of set the stage. This is
Yes, please.
back in June, the board approved this marketing campaign, and part of the requirement was that after 90 days, we come back and make a presentation, give you an update. That's what Mr. McLaughlin is here to do. We are seeking feedback and any additional direction you may have that you deem appropriate. With that, I'll introduce Mr. Stephen McLaughlin.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
We see you brought us pretty pictures. We like pretty pictures.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me back. 90 days ago, I was in front of you and we approved proceeding with this campaign. I wanted to tell you where we are. As I told you then, the beginning of the program was the most tedious part in that we had a whole lot of research that we needed to do. We have spent a lot of time doing it. It has been interesting and it has been educational. And what we have done is, if you were looking at the notes from the proposal in the first place, item A was identify and create a list of current area businesses clearly NAICS qualified. Well, in my lack of knowledge at the time, I didn't realize what a big word clearly qualified was. So it's been interesting as we have gotten databases of all the businesses in San Angelo, gone through them and determined what was qualified under the codes and what weren't. We have a list that we have narrowed down, and then we've sent it to COSA DC staff, and they have been through and made notes and come back and forth. And it's a list that is somewhere between 700 to 800 names of businesses in San Angelo that in different categories might be eligible for assistance. So having that done, the other steps that we have taken is we've begun creating keywords for our Google search engine process, and also that creates a mailing list for us to do the mailer, as we talked about, which we are ready to go with now. We are also ready to begin some of the Google keywords stuff to make businesses in these categories aware that they may be eligible if they have an idea or a desire for expansion or adding jobs or capital improvements to their business, so that as they're online and searching supporting materials for those endeavors, that little thing will pop up and say, hey, you may be eligible for help from the COSA DC. So we have that prepared. We were calling this a brochure, the mailer, when we first spoke. In visiting, going back and forth with Roland staff at the COSA DC, it's kind of become apparent that if you put too much information out there, you're going to have people who may try to qualify or disqualify themselves based upon what they read. So what we're really trying to encourage, rather than attempt to educate them to pre-qualify themselves, we're just trying to encourage them to know that they may or may not be eligible, and encourage them to call Roland, call the office, and tell the office what they plan, what industry they're in, and begin that process. So with that, we did take it down from a brochure to more postcard format. This is simply the front. I did want you to see the front. It says, City of San Angelo, Texas Development Corporation. Your business has been specifically listed as potentially eligible for half-cent sales tax incentives, phone number, contact information. This is just a stand-in. But I did want you to see that we don't want to mislead anyone, and we don't want anybody to think that, and this was a tricky thing too, required some kind of copywriting skill, because you don't want them to see it and think it's just some kind of a scam or hey, you've won. But you also don't want them to think that they're guaranteed qualification. So this says, this is not a guarantee of qualification. Further review of your North American industry classification and your expansion plan will be required. However, during a local review of every San Angelo business by category, your business was identified by name as potentially eligible for incentives. So it tells them that they weren't just given this on some bulk mail list. They have already been through one level of filtering process, but that there's more to come. So that's the reason for that design of that text there.
Stephen, if you would you just aim that at one of the cameras that our IT guys can,
Here?
yeah, right there would be fine. Just give them a moment so that the viewing public can see it when they watch this on TV. Thank you very much. Looks like he's got it.
Okay. This is the bulk of the postcard here. We're pleased to announce a new focus on helping locally owned business expand and prosper, and the next business we help could be yours. The half-cent sales tax is a commitment by the San Angelo community to invest in the future of our own local economy. The City of San Angelo Development Corporation exists to put that money to work. There's your logo. If you have a plan to grow by adding jobs or expansion through major capital investment, call us and let us determine if we can provide economic incentives to help you succeed. This is kind of a breakout here. The half-cent sales tax is San Angelo's investment in our own economy. The City of San Angelo Development Corporation puts that money to work. This is almost a little slogan that we've attached to this. Helping a local business helps all local business. And that's the postcard.
Wonderful. And it was pointed out to me, we do have another camera over my right shoulder, so you don't have to really turn it around.
I don't have to.
I have gotten phone calls in the past from folks that say, "You guys get to see things we don't get to see." So, just
Well,
trying
that's
to
why I
cover
didn't do a
everybody.
handout, but I didn't know where the cameras were.
And that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So essentially, that's where we are. As far as television, radio, that sort of thing, we'll begin that in the next phase, but we are ready to get started with this in terms of doing the mailer and doing that first stage of the search engine stuff. The second thing, which we are already kind of down the road with, is from this list of businesses that are qualified, we are going through and identifying manufacturers of specific products that make those products here in San Angelo, what those products are, and we're compiling keywords based on those for COSA DC to send a message to people that are Googling and looking for those products to say, hey, maybe you should stock your shelves with a San Angelo made product. Now, that search engine, that's only for local. So if I'm a retailer and I'm looking for a product to put on my shelf, whether it's a chocolate or a candle or something, and my search engine pattern suggests that's what I'm doing, we want this message to pop up and say, COSA DC wants to let you know that the product you're looking for may be manufactured right here in San Angelo, so that they can click on and find out more about the company in town that makes that product and consider buying that. So we're also at work on that. So unfortunately, except for this, really we're not in a position yet to say, okay, here is our results, because we're just getting started. But putting all this information together was vital and time consuming. But I'm actually very pleased. As I told you in the beginning, I think it's great that we're focusing on local business. I think that taxpayers will be excited. And my mouth is very dry, I'm sorry. When you look through this list and you start seeing names that you know and thinking about helping them expand and grow and do better and stay in San Angelo and prosper, I mean, that's very exciting. If that's not what all this is for, I don't know what it is. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Stephen, as a part of the scope of, I would say, number 2 that you mentioned, is there any plan to, I'll say, extend or maybe finger out to all businesses, try to do business with a San Angelo business? You've got your list of manufacturers, I heard you say that, but is there any plan in your scope to say to all businesses, please try to do business with a local San Angelo business before, and I'm fully aware that you can't stop this. People are going to Google whatever, and whatever pops up, whether it's on, in Minnesota or in Oregon or Florida, I understand that. But to the extent we can raise the awareness of people shopping locally, and I'm not talking retail.
Right.
The chamber does a good job of that. But I'm talking business to business. People that need paper clips and pencils and that sort of thing. Are we gonna make that push as well?
Yes, and one of the reasons that it is time consuming is that, at least in terms of for us, what we're trying to do is kind of new. We haven't found a lot of precedent for it. But when you start looking at the things manufactured here, and so they come out on a wholesale level, and you look at the retailers, it's such a cross section that I would think almost anybody doing any ordering for retail is going to get this message about some other business from the COSA DC. And we are going to have more public elements of this. We just agreed to start this part first, but there will be television and radio and newsprint and general things, because we want, my understanding is we want the whole public to know that COSA DC is making this effort. But specifically to your question, when we have this data and the nice thing is you can adjust it every month as we get these reports. The goal is that if I'm ordering something to put on my shelves, if I'm a San Angelo merchant in the retail and I'm using my computer to find products, or even if I'm not using it to find products, if my search engine habits suggest that that's who I am, I'm a retailer and I'm making purchasing decisions for retail operation, that message of please consider buying from a San Angelo manufacturer pops up in front of them, and not just once, but over and over and over again. So I would be surprised, and if you want to, or I'll email you. I'll email you kind of a list of what we're finding in terms of products that are manufactured in San Angelo. Obviously, there's not the manufacturing here that there once was, but there are still a lot of products made here, and it's funny because those manufacturers don't so much have a motivation to do local advertising because they don't sell retail-wise. It's amazing how many of them nobody's ever heard of. And so it's extremely possible that I'm going to build a house and not know that instead of ordering roofing trellises from somewhere else, City of Lumber's manufacturing them over on 14th Street. So I think this is going to be a really fruitful campaign and effort. I think that bridging that communication gap, I think it's one of the neatest things we're doing.
And I think it's going to be an awareness thing over time. This isn't going to happen overnight. I'm fully aware of that. But over time, raising the awareness of all business owners, look to do business, whether it's a business service or a product. Look to do business with a local business before you even consider going outside of the city of San Angelo, even out of the region. You know, if we could raise 10% or more the amount of business done locally with our own businesses, I think that would be far larger than what we can really even imagine at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Economically speaking, there's no doubt about that.
So I'm hopeful we can start fingering this out as we move down the road.
I agree. One more element to that I would bring up that we're going to attach in this process, because, you know, even as much time as we put in this database, the inherent problem with all databases is, number one, they're only as good as the information that was put into them in the beginning. And then however much time has elapsed from the time it was put in the database to the time you retrieve the data, things have changed in that time. So invariably, there are going to be businesses that should be here but that aren't. So we plan to include an element, particularly in the online, of actually, let me find it. I have a little 7-question format that I want businesses, if they feel like, hey, why am I not getting these messages and I want to be a part of this when they've heard of it. And it simply says, what is the name of your business? Are you inside San Angelo? What product or products do you manufacture? What industry is typically your customer? If someone were using Google to search for your product, what keywords would they be likely to enter? What local business would benefit from using you as a supplier? And what advantage would there be to another business to buy locally from you? So we give them the opportunity to answer those questions and send them to us, and that allows us to add them to the list of things that COSA DC is promoting.
Good.
Do we have any other questions or comments from the board?
Well, I would just like to see some kind of an incentive that we could give somebody locally that, say, maybe a small scale wholesaler to go global, because everybody knows that price is driven by quantity. And if you got a small shop here that's providing local services and, say, regional services, and they have an incentive to go global, then they're going to stock a whole bunch of stuff that we can use here in San Angelo, and the lower their prices get, the more the manufacturers, you know, which is the top line business in San Angelo, will tend to purchase here locally. And that's been a problem for me. We've actually helped create a situation where a company greatly prospered by our presence here, because we chose to go locally and told those people, put them on notice, that we expect the low prices that we can get if we buy certain products in great quantity, and they did that. So now we're buying all of our fasteners here locally instead of going out of San Angelo. We were buying directly from Ucor, and they have become a Nucor distributor, so we're getting the same prices and saving the shipping cost. That's the kind of thing that we can do here on the board to enhance and improve local businesses.
And I'm not an economist by any stretch, but I've read a lot about it. It's fascinating. I am paying for a boy who apparently will be an economist in May. But I don't think, and I know I didn't until I started reading about it, I don't think it occurs to people when you're talking about the economic impact that even a 10% growth in awareness of local manufacturing could have on the economy. That starts to get into speech that for the layperson, we don't understand what you're talking about. But you're absolutely right. If this effort accomplishes nothing else but makes people think about not only the benefit to other companies in town, but the benefit to our overall economy just by increasing the amount of which we keep dollars in our own market. And then, as you say about global business, the ideal is to keep dollars in our own economy and at the same time in the process go out and bring other dollars from throughout the globe into our economy while keeping these here longer. If we make the business community even slightly more aware of that, it'll have a huge impact, and that's very exciting to me. So again, I thank you for the opportunity to let us be part of this.
Thanks for your work so far, Stephen.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the public? Then we thank you, Stephen, for
Thank you very much.
what you've brought to us and what you're doing for us. Okay, we'll pause for just a moment as we reset the stage. I'm reminded of high school theater. Okay. We now have a presentation and update regarding the third and fourth fiscal year 2014-2015 quarter reports on affordable housing and assistance program. And we invite Mr. Robert Salas.
Good morning, Board. I'm actually going to allow Mari Rodriguez, who is the program coordinator, do the presentation. She manages the program and knows the program better than I do. So, Mari.
Thank you both.
Hello, I'm Mari Rodriguez.
Could I ask you to speak into the microphone, please?
Sure. Okay. This is just to let you know what we've been doing for the past quarter, and since it's the last quarter, it includes our numbers for the year. Our performance measures that we have to meet include getting annual input from stakeholders and citizens. We hold that meeting every spring for the coming year, and our next meeting will be in the spring of 2016. The reports for the year have been submitted August 28th to work with community partners. For marketing, I meet with and work with all the eligible builders and participating lenders for the program. We currently have clients through October 2016 program year. So we're not actively marketing the program because we don't want a very long waiting list. For this year that's ending this month, we have 6 houses that we constructed. We have 6 applications approved for the next year, and we have 2 already approved for October 2016. For the quarter, we closed on 2 homes in July, and that brought a total of 51 homes since the program began in 2008. We also have our foreclosure that was at 2013 Hudson. We did purchase that from the bank at $55,629. We have concluded the rehab on the home for $38,713.86 plus a change order for $5,500. So that brings our total investment in the acquisition and rehab to $99,846.02. We are in the process of getting the appraisal to know what we can sell it at. We should have that today or tomorrow. I have been showing it to clients in our other program that's for down payment and closing cost assistance only. And but we can't really effectively market it until we have a final price. We have notified the police department and fire department that we have this home available just in case anybody's looking for a home. And that's in an effort to go along with the Homes for Heroes program that's out there. Once we have the final appraisal, we will effectively market it again to police department, fire department, and to city employees, and to our clients in the program that qualify for the low-income assistance. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
No.
No? Thank you
Thank
very much
you.
for the presentation.
And I do want to remind the board that last time you asked us to look at the program and see if we can adjust it and perhaps come in with some new recommendations. We'll be doing that next month.
Very good.
We've got a couple of things that we want you guys to look at, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you both. Okay, we'll move on to item E under the regular agenda. Consideration of approving the Chamber of Commerce fiscal year 2015-2016 Marketing and Recruitment Action Plan. And we welcome Vice President of Marketing and Recruitment, Mr. Michael Looney.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you, everybody, for having me. What I wanted to do is start off this morning by kind of leading in with our focus, our mission. And as you know, it is the Chamber's pleasure to work directly in office with COSA DC and the staff. That program is working very successfully, and I think I can speak for the COSA DC staff members and for my people at the Chamber. They're very pleased with that combined services mission. The reason we do it is results. It's to bring more companies, employers to San Angelo. Whether that's a new company that's relocating or whether that's an expansion, we want it all. We want to take a look at every potential employer that's complementary to the businesses and the culture of our manufacturing community. And so that's what we've been doing, and that's what I've been doing. And in the creation of the contract with the Chamber's contract with COSA DC, Roland and I put a lot of time into it, and we wanted it to be as fundamental as possible. We wanted to avoid what in military circles they call mission creep, which means there are so many different tangents that you can chase that look good and that probably are very good, but you can lose your focus. So what we've done is made sure that the contract basically is the action plan, and it's divided into 9 tasks, and these tasks are laid out with very clear, simple instructions and very achievable, recordable steps. So, for example, task 1 is to cold call on prospective companies outside of San Angelo. Simple as that. These companies are primary job creators. They are NAICS code eligible for incentives. Our target list is comprised of companies that are researched for market compatibility. We think that it is wise to try to reach out to companies that we think would fit well with the San Angelo, the available workforce, the great diverse skill sets that we have, that our workforce has, and the facilities that are available, that being existing facilities and facilities that could be built in our industrial park. And that is, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. That is a good strategy. That is producing results, and I'll get to those results in a couple of minutes. The basics come down to outreach, and that outreach is what I do. That outreach is traveling a lot, going out of the region, going out of the state to call upon companies, employers, primary job creators that we suspect would be compatible. All of these reports, all of these mission reports are reported in real time to my people at the BRC, the Business Resource Center. That's the COSA DC staff. Of course, it's also reported back to my chamber staff as well. So we've got 2 reports that are going out simultaneously, letting everyone know what is happening, where we are, and what resources we might need to bring to bear to take these potential transactions to the next step. Once a prospect, a suspect, expresses interest, I then take that, separate it out, and hand that off to the COSA DC staff. And so they then begin the process of the mechanics of determining what those next steps need to be. Now, I help them along the way, but that is proving to be a very, very efficient, systematized method. I bring them in. Once we get them close, we get them into the engine room over at COSA DC. These are just some images. I'm not going to go into a lot of narration, but these are some images of the past couple of months. You'll probably see some of these images and learn about the story behind them in next month's quarterly. But when we go out, and when I go out and call on companies, we document them with photographs, we document them with video, we interview the principals, we bring with us the site selection forms. They don't always get filled out as we're sitting there, because it's kind of a long form if you haven't seen it. And we make sure that the right questions are being asked, because obviously we don't want to spend a lot of time with a company that really doesn't have a focus on the region. But what we're finding is that a lot of manufacturers that we're talking to are very, very intrigued by the region. And there's a variety of different reasons for that. One of them is our workforce is very skilled. San Angelo is a kind of a mini manufacturing hub. There's 102 manufacturing companies in San Angelo. If you have 118,000 people, that's one manufacturing company for every 1,100 people, 1,150. We've got a very diverse manufacturing base. We're not just hydrocarbon or aviation or carbon fiber. We do a lot of different things. And when you celebrate that, when you speak to that, companies take notice, employers take notice. Little continuation on task one, recruiting support functions. Direct extra-regional prospect employer recruitment, that's what I just spoke about. Public relations. Being a chamber figure, I also do a lot of publishing of articles in national and regional publications, conference presentations, trade show presentations, and also some internet interviews, and haven't yet done television. Phil's doing a good job of that, but also preparing to do some radio. You're so good, Phil. Participate in statewide national marketing efforts with the governor's office, which we do, and we get good leads, probably one good lead a month. We see more, but maybe once a month, maybe every 40 or 50 days, we'll see one that really looks good, and we go after that. We have a very strong relationship with the governor's office, and we see that representative probably quarterly, and she comes to visit us, and we have a hotline on her cell phone so that when we need help, when we have questions, Lindsay is always ready to help us, and she loves the San Angelo region, so we think that's good. Again, as part of task one, you'll see bullet point 1, provide COSA DC staff monthly reports summarizing prospective employers' estimated job creation, job types, estimated taxable value, and the return on investment regarding any incentives that, if any, are warranted. And I'll speak to that in a minute as well. Some of the actual functions that we're in the process of doing, some of these are things that we need to continue on or refine. Some have already been done, but we wanted to make sure that they stay on the action plan. And it's a cross-branded website. There are a lot of different ways to do it. Creating a cross-branded website with links to every one of our partners that we work with is actually a little bit more of a difficult task than just whipping it out, because we want it to be quality. We want it to be very useful. We don't want to accomplish it just to say it's checked off the list. So we're continuing in the process of building that. Deployment date, I'd probably say safely, probably in 2 months, we could have something that would be a really good product. We're getting good results off of the existing online presences, But that's something that we've committed to refine and make a little bit more polished. Print, online and marketing materials. That's one of our major functions. One of my major functions is to make sure that our print materials are timely, they are informative, they're easy to read, and I did give you all some examples. That is the community profile, which has 3 tabs in it, 3 pages. That is something that we focus on pretty keenly when we meet with different companies, whether they be in Longview or Corpus or Dallas or Houston, and that's the manufacturer's list. And that's usually what we use when we lead into a marketing discussion. And a lot of companies are very surprised and delighted to hear that there's such a diverse, large manufacturing base. And then we also use the official publication of the San Angelo Chamber, which is the Portraits of San Angelo magazine, which is a very well received. We use that almost every time we use the community profile, and it's a really nice complimentary piece. You'll also see an example of the San Angelo Business and Industrial Super Park brochure. That brochure is in the process of being a bit further refined, but we wanted to get something that we could deploy quickly because we are not waiting on our outreach mission. This outreach mission is continuing. It has been in effect since I got here, which is 14 months ago, but we wanted something that we could hand off and explain some of the details about the park, the certification, what that certification means, and some of the history behind some of the current transactions that are underway. Prospect meetings. That's task number 4. This is simply touring prospective employers through San Angelo. We visit facilities, we visit with community partners. We have been complimented on this at least half a dozen times that I personally recall hearing. I'm sure it's happened more than that, where a company sits down with us, and you can see the picture of us. We've got a picture of our workforce and Howard College staff at a meeting where we're talking to a potential candidate company and discussing how we all work together as one unit to solve problems right then and there. Instead of sending people, you need to call this department, then that department's going to send you to this department. We do it all right then and there. Task 5 is trade shows. That's a great way to get in front of a lot of companies very quickly. And in some cases, we've set up booths. In some cases, simple attendance with a rolling backpack filled with brochures and simple one-on-one discussions with company leadership. So far, we've visited with probably over 200 company leaders at the SME, Society of Manufacturing, sponsored manufacturing trade shows. One is Aerodef, that has produced a result, which I'm not going to speak about right now. Hustex, which is another trade show that is basically the Fab Tech, which is the big Chicago trade show that they have in Houston, which is focused on Gulf Coast, also has produced 2 results, one of which we're talking to, one of which we're following up with, going in the general right direction. Task 6, Site Selector Service. We did a lot of research on an affordable helper, someone who can help us to enhance the work that we're already doing, and that's a company we like called Site Selection Partnership. There are several others that we're still talking to. SLP is a company based out of Dallas, and they have helped us just get in front of a couple of more potential employers that we may not have seen. Now, one thing that I think is important to mention is that except for maybe 1 or 2, the leads, the introductions we get through our SLP relationship are not generated by other means that we might already have seen. These aren't reconstituted governor's office leads in a pretty package. These are unique. And this is a company that's been tracking other employers and companies outside of outside of Texas for many years. Project Chew, which is a pet product company that we are going to be touring on September the 29th, so next Tuesday, is a result. And Project Soar, which is a company that we are in the process of speaking to through SLP right now, and that's a company that does heavy aircraft repair. Task 7, Goodfellow Air Force Base, our largest employer, one of our greatest friends, one of San Angelo's biggest assets. We work very closely with the personnel, with the command personnel, with civilian leadership, and our goal is to aggressively work with them to enhance and expand the base missions, community support for those missions, and facilities enhancement or expansion. At present, we are engaged in a leadership role with the Goodfellow San Angelo Community Partnership Program, and we are at present working on several initiatives to increase the size and the scope of existing base missions with some potential new ones. And this is some imagery of some of the meetings that we've had in the past couple of months. And as you can see in the bottom left corner, you can see the Altus Award being presented to us by General Robin Rand. And that was a couple of months ago at the museum. The Altus Award is awarded yearly to the city with that the Air Force considers to have the best community base relationship. And tasks 8 and 9 is again to engage third-party consulting as needed. This may be SLP, this may be another individual. We have a relationship with a gentleman who is a very, very experienced 40-year veteran of economic development. He is a friend of the Chamber. He has spoken at one of our programs. That's just an example. We are not afraid to pull in people when we need them because we don't want to miss any opportunities. And then task 9, we maintain professional memberships with economic development allies and trade organizations. Probably the big threes: the government's Economic Development Office, the Southern Economic Development Council, and the Society of Manufacturing Engineers. There are others that are mentioned in the contract. They're not exclusive, but we ally ourselves with those organizations that we are realizing the maximum result from. And we're very confident in the direction we're going. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I think you've been very concise.
I've been hanging out with the Goodfellow guys a lot. All I have to do is get down the hand stab and I'm there.
Michael, I guess I have a couple of questions. You may have mentioned this, maybe I missed it, timelines. Since we're talking 2015, 2016, do we have timelines for some of these initiatives that you can talk about? I would think we would want that in a marketing plan.
In the print plan, which I actually did print, but it printed out rather small, and I will get that to you later today so that you can actually read it without needing to use a magnifying glass. It has timelines in it so that we track what the task is, when we want to initiate it, which is you're going to see is now or yesterday, and most of them already are underway. When we want the specific task completed and what that result, that goal result is. It's a spreadsheet. It doesn't look like the contract. It is a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet is used weekly, monthly, by Roland and I, so that we are constantly speaking to each other and talking about where we are with each prospect and with each task goal.
So we could call it a report card?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
I saw it but could not read it.
Okay.
It's tiny.
Well, then my next question may have already been answered too. In that document, do you have the specific industries that are being targeted for your efforts?
Yes, indeed. We do have that. These are as again, wanting to stay task focused. I'm going to read them off really briefly, as briefly as I can. This is mining, utilities, manufacturing, wholesale trade, transportation, trucking companies, securities, interestingly enough, commodities contracts, financial investment companies, scientific research and development companies, management companies, telephone call centers, contact centers, and then also there is a section in the law regarding Type B programs for military institutions and military bases, and that's under Section B.
Okay.
And that's who we're going after.
Okay, good. All right.
We're not tracking anything other than that. And there are a lot of companies out there that fall into those categories. There are some companies that are perfect for San Angelo, one of which we just got a phone call from last night. John was there. We need to modify their NAICS code because what they do is different than what their old NAICS code is. And that's where the partnership is so important. That's where we call in Bob Schneeman, Kathy Ballard. They're experts in understanding that. And we have that way of encouraging companies to tell them, your NAICS code is probably needs to be updated, which is fine to do. So that's just one little thing that helps with our mission. Yes,
Good.
Excellent questions.
Good.
Thank you.
And then my last question is, it may be in the same document, the trade shows that you are going to attend in 15 and 16, is that in that document as well?
It is in that document.
Okay.
We have a list. That list is you'll see under the trade show bar. We keep it open, though. Sometimes there are trade shows that we determine we're not going to go to, but we then research more and realize we need to go to. In fact, one of them was last week, the Great American Trucking Show. I was familiar with it, and I'm very glad that I went because we met 18 companies that manufactured truck parts. And San Angelo is known as an automotive aftermarket parts company, Coverlay. And that discussion sparked promises of further outreach to determine if there are opportunities available for one of these 18 companies. So we are very, very aggressive. But again, to kind of go back to summarize, we don't want to spread out our mission so that we're chasing rabbits everywhere. We want to keep it very focused. And that is really one of the wonderful things about working with the chamber, obviously my unit, and then Bob and Roland and Nora and the board, is that we are in such a great state of communication constantly, because I office at the BRC, the Business Resource Center, most of the time. We're always refining and focusing on the tasks at hand and how we need to make sure that we all stay in our lane for maximum effectiveness and maximum yield. And speaking of yield, I yield back the balance of my time to whomever's next on the list. Thank you all very much. If there are any other questions, please
Thanks,
call
I think
me.
we're good. Thank you very much, Michael. Yep. And no embarrassment intended, but we see Richard Crisp is able to join us. Thank you for making it.
Sorry to be so low.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing on the intent to expand half-cent sales tax funds to the following projects. The first being, well, Roland, were you wanting to address those? Or?
Sure. Let
Okay.
me first provide the rationale why we do this. The board already knows, but I think for purposes of the public, a public hearing is required to undertake a project. And as stated in section 505-159, except as provided by subsection B, a type B corporation shall hold at least one public hearing before spending money to undertake the project. That's why we do it. These 4 projects have been identified, and I'll let you read the first one, that caption, and if the president will allow, then me to provide some general points about that project, and then we could allow public input. This This first item does require action from the board.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just go ahead and read it. Item number 1, actually, regular agenda, item 6, subparagraph F, item number 1. Up to $1.5 million of the Coast DC Economic Development Unreserved Fund Balance account for the construction of a new annex, Phase 2 of the City Auditorium.
Yes, this item was approved by the board and then ratified by City Council. This was the allocation of 1.5. It has only to do with a new annex for the City Auditorium. Just some history on this. On April 17th, the city entered into a partnership with the San Angelo Performing Arts Coalition for the operation and management of the City Auditorium. And SAPAC was to participate by raising $2.5 million. On the 15th of April 2014, City Council authorized First Amendment to the agreement for SAPAC to jointly undertake the renovation and expansion of the City Auditorium. You recall we had a ballot that was approved for $3.75 million of Costa DC funds. August 26, Costa DC unanimously of this year approved allocation of 1.5, ratified September 1st by the City Council. At this time, we'll ask for any public input if the President desires, and then I'll guide you in the action.
Do we have any public comment on this? This is a public hearing, to which we are hearing nothing. Go ahead, Roland.
So just to help facilitate the motion, I know we've had several resolutions to approve these projects. I have at just some of the brainstorming that we did between legal and staff, we determined that we could make this easy for you. We have provided the motion of the caption of the resolution. So this instructs you on the motion to second, allow for public comment again, and then take your vote.
Do I have the motion?
And that is for the approval of the resolution.
I'll make
Yes.
that motion.
Second.
Okay, if you would go ahead and read that.
I will. I move we adopt a resolution of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation Board of Directors authorizing the use of sales and use tax funds for the project related to Section 505.152 recreational and community facilities as authorized under Type B Corporation and Local Government Code, Chapter 505, Subchapter D, in the form presented.
And I believe Tommy has already seconded it, maybe others. Do we have any board comment, discussion? Any other comment from the public? In the absence, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Roland, before you go on, Ryan has asked that anybody that's got a cell phone on the dais or near one of the microphones, please move it away from the mic. I guess they're getting some buzz noise or feedback from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, we're up to item 2 under this subsection. Up to $388,600 of economic development incentive to Data Management, Inc., doing business as Time Clock Plus.
This item was brought before the board last board meeting to approve a resolution to expend up to $338,000 for economic development incentives. We did have a performance agreement that was approved as well. And then this action was also later ratified by City Council on September 1st.
Roland, for clarification, with what we're looking at right here, shows $338,600. The agenda shows $388,600. Need to clarify the exact amount.
Let's confirm that.
Actually, there are 2 different amounts on the slide you're showing as well.
Yeah.
338 even versus 338,600. Our agenda shows 388,600.
The correct number is 388,600.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's printed in the agenda and has already gone out to the public with 3-day notice is the correct amount.
That is correct. And we published it that way as well.
All right.
Okay. At this point, we have public hearing. Any public needing to talk about this? We have Mr. Phil Neighbors.
Well, just a quick comment.
Don't talk
is
yourself
Bill
out of it,
Neighbors,
Phil.
San Angelo Chamber, I'm sorry.
Don't talk yourself out of it.
Okay, correct. But I thought it worthy that this is a company that started here, has grown locally, is in a NAICS code that we really want to expand here in this community, and so this is a great opportunity. The Chamber provided some very small incentive funds some years ago for their most recent expansion to their sign, and I'm delighted that this performance-based contract is coming up and appreciate your support of it.
Thank you very much, Phil. Okay, is this also
Do we have
any
a
action?
do we have a resolution for that as well? or-
The resolution was approved last
Okay.
month, so
That's
it's
correct.
just, it's
So
just
this is
taking
simply
public
a
comment.
public
This is
hearing.
simply public, okay.
That's correct.
Okay, we have had the public hearing on that item then. Item number 3, up to $225,000 of Chamber of Commerce marketing and recruitment professional services.
So this has to do with the contract that Michael mentioned, $225,000 that we do annually. Costa DC did approve the resolution last month. This is specifically for marketing and recruitment. It was later ratified by City Council on September 1st. Again, this is just allows us to be able to expend the funds, and it's strictly procedural. With that, Phil,
Well, we
Take
will
public comment.
invite public comment. Any public comment on this item? We have none. Any board comment? You're part of the public in a sense, too.
I'd so move.
Okay. Actually, we don't need an action on this. It's just a public hearing. So we'll accept Daniel's yay on that. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, $150,000 even for an economic development grant to Howard College for the development of an LVN to RN Bridge Career Center program.
This item is for $150,000 for the Economic Development Grant to Howard College for the development of an LVN RN Bridge Career Program. You have already approved the performance agreement and the resolution to go with it at last month's board meeting, and has already been signed by Howard College and Costa DC. The approval was also ratified by City Council on September 1st. And I've got, well, I'll save my comment for later.
Okay. Do we have any public comment in this public hearing? We have none. Anything from the board? Okay, we have heard.
I guess the last comment I wanted to make, I mean, you've seen all the different projects that we have, and I hope this is a good indication for Director Carrasco of all the good things that we're doing. We're working very well with the partners, and we have several projects that we're working on, and they're all exciting, and so it makes it exciting to do our job as well. So very proud of the fact, of that fact.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are we done with that then, Roland?
We are.
Very good. We then move on to item number 7 on our total agenda. This is the closed session. Executive session under the provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D. Exceptions to requirements that meetings be open under the following sections. Section 551.071, Paragraph 2, to consult with the attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter regarding matters related to litigation pertaining to Martifer Hirschfield Energy Systems LLC et al. Bullet point 2, section 551.072, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And the last bullet point being section 551.087, to discuss an offer of financial or other incentives to Robinson Premium Beef LLC and or companies with whom the City of San Angelo Development Corporation is conducting economic development negotiations, and which the City of San Angelo Development Corporation seeks to have, locate, stay, or expand in San Angelo. At this time, we move into executive session, and we will note the time as being 9:35 a.m. It is now 10:36, and we are out of executive session. We have only one item to report, and that is with regard to Robertson Premium Beef. Staff has been instructed by the board to continue working on that project as appropriate, and we hope to see fruit from it. With that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. Item number 8, consideration and possible action regarding matters in executive session as needed. And I should not have read that. That was what I just did. I apologize for that, public. Now we have the last item on the agenda.
Move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I see
Second.
everyone has printed agendas, so I didn't have to say what that was. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.